Measure R. So the way it works with a measure, we don't really have candidates. We have advocates for and against. The two candidates immediately closest to me are supporters of Measure R, Pedro and Brittany. Because they are the ones who are the proponents, they go first. And then we have the two people who are opposing it, Steve and Tom, and they will go second. Each question from you will go to both sides, and they'll have 90 seconds for an opening statement, however they want to do that between them, and likewise with the others. So that's the way this will work. We're going to go ahead and get started, and whenever you're ready, Pedro or Brittany, you have 90 seconds.
Hi everyone, my name is Brittany Box-Kowalski. I'm a fifth generation Santa Paulan. I've grown up here my whole life. I have seen the city not in the streets and everything that Santa Paula has always been kind of left behind in. We are facing a crucial decision with Measure R. This measure isn't just about a 1% sales tax, it's about making an essential investment into our community and its future. It's a step towards addressing our aging infrastructure, from street repairs to upgrades like the 911 emergency system. Modernizing these services is vital to keeping the community safe and responsive. He said we could split it.
However you wish to do it, but the clock is ticking.
The measure isn't just about the present, it's about the future. Santa Paula is in trouble, in my opinion, and I feel like if we don't do something to help her, we're going to be in trouble and we're going to fall behind even more. And delaying these improvements will only increase the costs in the future, making it harder for us to keep up as we always have.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from the no on our side. Gentlemen.
Well, I'd like to know what could possibly go wrong with having the highest tax rate in Ventura County. Now, the City of Santa Paula's streets, pothole repair, and city services measure is what we're talking about here tonight. It's Measure R. And the key is that the revenue goes into the general fund. Well, if it goes into the general fund, it can be used for anything. So that statement that says it goes to city services is an omnibus. It means it can go to anything. Now this is just like Measure T. Measure T was sold to repair our streets. And well, shortly after the passage of Measure T, the entire city staff received a 15% raise. Well, why? Because they had a lot of money coming in from Measure T. So, how did this get on the ballot? That's what I wanted to know, because it seemed to me sort of strange. And there was a survey, a wonderful survey that came out. And if anybody answered that survey, guess what? They were taken to support Measure T. The survey, however, never even mentioned the word tax. It was just, what priorities do you want for our city? And so it was totally disingenuous, was completely lacking transparency.
Thank you, Tom. I'm going to have to stop you there. So, Steve and Tom, this first question will start with you. It's, if there was no Measure R, the city would be in a difficult position because of the no income or no additional income coming in. So, considering that the budget is getting tighter and tighter, what would you do if Measure R does not pass to help provide the income the city needs? And please be as specific as you can.
Well, the first thing I would do is I'd quit wasting money, packing flyers into our water bills. I would also quit do water bills. I get 20 of them. They put them in 17 envelopes. Ridiculous. The bottom line is the city of Santa Paula has not been responsible in how they spend their money. We had an opportunity a few years back, and we paid past Measure T. What was one of the first things that happened? The council turned around and gives our fire department away. We're now paying $5 million a year to have a fire department. And everybody goes, oh, but we got all this extra equipment. The reality of it is we had mutual aid. We already had that extra equipment if we needed it. So the city of Santa Paula has made bad decisions in the past. And the reason, because of those bad decisions, here we are today now, coming back to the poor taxpayers in the city and wanting them to fix their mistake, basically. There's a lot of places the city of Santa Paula could be much more responsible when they're spending money. And if they were, this money would not even be needed because they could save it in their own, in the normal budgetary process. I don't have enough time, but I've got the budget here, and boy, that you should, if you start analyzing it, there's plenty of money to be saved.
Thank you. Pedro and Brittany, what would you do? What do you believe is the solution if Measure R does not pass?
We're at a critical stage in our history of Santa Paula. We can either make progress, be faulted for the mistakes of the past, or we look to the future. I'm standing here as a resident, as a voter, as a taxpayer, who's deeply concerned that there is no other option but to ensure that Measure R passes. Why? Because the community demands it. They state it all the time. Fix our streets. Fix our streets. But guess what? They don't get all the information they need to understand the complexity of how it works. This is about shared responsibility. There is no surrender on this issue. We have to stand together as Santa Paulans because the ones that are hurt the most are the ones that are falling on sidewalks, that are having expensive car repairs. Some of those people are standing and sitting in this audience right now. They don't have the luxury of owning multiple properties. They're working class people. And we have to stand up for the rights of working class. So I say to Santa Paula, are you looking forward or are you looking back? And if we're looking forward, let's do the right thing and pass Measure R. Because there is no other option. You cannot slice it any other way. The last tax increase happened 7 years ago. What do you think the cost of goods and services is in 7 years?
Thank you. And Brittany and Pedro will start the next question with you. So there was an oversight committee for Measure T. Do you feel that that committee effectively administered the bond? And also, do you think if Measure R passes, that oversight committee from Measure T should be folded into R, or should it be a new oversight committee?
In my opinion, I do think that they did a good job. I think that there's been a lot given to the PD, roads, parks and recs. The committee themselves have been the ones to say no to city council before and make the decisions that were right. And I do feel that if Measure R does pass, that we do need an oversight committee. And I think that's very important. And I know that the city has voted to touch base on that if Measure R is to pass. And yes, I do think that there should be an oversight committee, just like Measure T.
Do you think the T committee?
In 2016, the residents of Santa Paula made a decision to pass Measure T. Measure T saved this city, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think paid for Harvard Boulevard? $18 million. How do you think that just magically happened? No, it doesn't, folks. It's because of your investment, the investment of our people. Yes, we might have a higher tax rate. Why? Because we don't have the luxury of having high property values in our community, or the industry that allows us to bring in more tax revenue. We're a small community that's growing, that's about to transform itself. And right now is the time to ensure that we continue the progress that's being made. Yes, the council made a decision recently to do what? To instruct the staff within 90 days to come up with recommendations about oversight. And I believe that that council is going to act on its promise, like it did before.
Thank you. Steve and Tom, do you believe that the committee overseeing Measure T was appropriate and successful? And if Measure R passes, do you think that committee should be folded into the Measure R committee?
Well, I'd like to make a statement about oversight committees, because I was on the oversight committee for Measure Q and Measure P. And it's great to think that you're going to do something on these oversight committees, but the problem is that when you state something like, well, it's for public services, now you have just eliminated the use of the oversight committee. because you can justify anything as being for the public service. Okay? And so on the Measure P and Measure Q Oversight Committee, all we could do was decide, was this within the purview of the measure? And if it was, then we could say nothing more. Now, it didn't, and we had to fight like heck in order to get the air conditioners into the classrooms because they didn't even want to do that. So it's, oversight committees are less than efficient ways to oversee the money that taxpayers pay.
The reality is that this is a general tax increase, sales tax increase, and the council can do anything they want with this money, as they did with Measure T. They spent it any way they wanted, and here we are today.
Thank you. Stephen Thomas, stay with you. So some people might say, well, could have been a smaller amount, instead of a penny per dollar, could have been a half cent. But other people say, oh, maybe 1 penny on a dollar, is that such a big deal? So share with us what your view is about it's only a penny on a dollar, and do you think that's the right amount, or would you support it a lower amount?
The reality of it is, it's $500 on a new car. So you want to add $500 to your new car, $50,000 car, it's $500. This thing generates $4.5 million a year. Yeah, 1 penny here, but every time you go to the store, I looked at a receipt the other day, I spent $100 and my sales tax was almost 10. So it's almost going to be 1/10 increase, what you're going to have to spend now when you buy a product. Every time they add a penny to it, it inches up. That additional penny is 1/10 added onto the sales tax we currently pay. Are we going to be able to, in another 8 years, because the city has faltered, should we throw another 1%? And then another 8 years, should we throw another 1%? Pretty soon we'll be up to 20%. The reality of it is that the city of Santa Paula has made mistakes, and they're coming back to the citizens of Santa Paula to correct those mistakes through the sales tax. We have to stop this. The general population, this is going to hurt the poor the most. They're the ones that can least afford to have more sales tax piled on them because of inflation. 30% inflation, that's 3 more cents in sales tax. You know, 3 more bucks. The reality of it is the poor will suffer the most, and the businesses of Santa Paula are going to also be hurt by the fact that now they're the highest tax rate in the county.
Pedro and Whitney, your views about why it's 1 penny on the dollar, should it have been a little less?
This is about shared responsibility. No matter how much you make, you contribute. You're contributing to what? The quality of life. That's what this is about, the quality of life. And everybody, no matter how much you make, it's about how much you contribute, and it's about shared responsibility. Most people don't realize that right now it's 8.25%. 6.25% of that doesn't stay here, it goes bye-bye. So we have 1% that has been invested and then 1% in Measure P. All we're asking is for 1 more cent. Why? Because the harm that it will do and does continuously do until we fix our streets is greater. So what we're asking for here with Measure R is to ensure that everybody understands that this is about shared responsibility. And did you know that Measure P sunsets in 10 years? So what we're really doing is we're infusing investment now so that we can bring in more people to Santa Paula, we can grow. How does that impact our small businesses when we have more traffic? You think they're going to want to come back when we have decaying infrastructure? They come, think about it. When we had Harvard Boulevard, Humboldt Boulevard, do you think their businesses are recovering? You think their businesses are going to do better now that Harvard Boulevard has been completely repaired? So imagine the future of the entire city in that way now.
Thank you. Brittany and Pedro, Measure R, as pointed out earlier, is general obligation, meaning the money can be used for a wide variety of purposes, however the council chooses to do that. And certainly there are going to be new councils with new philosophies. How do you ensure this money goes to the proper places?
First of all, the reason why you added these other things, streets, sidewalks, services, 911 dispatch, is to provide the flexibility so that you can solve problems. But at the end of the day, it's about solving problems. You might be in the street and saying, you know what, there's a public safety issue here. Maybe we need to put a crosswalk. Well, guess what? You have the flexibility to be able to solve those problems. So again, this measure is going to allow the council, and yes, guess what? Who elects the council? The people elect the council. Is the council meeting public? Absolutely they are. Are people accessing the council? Are they participating? Are they staying engaged? We have a lot of work to do, right? Why? Because it's about accessibility. And for the most part, people are not able to come and participate in the government. But guess what? That's why they have elections. They trust people when they elect them to do the right thing of what they said they're going to do. So what I say to our community is that you have to have faith at the end of the day. Save this town. Harvard Boulevard, what do you think that was? The new police cars, the support for Parks and Recs, the new services that have. What I will say is this, the city does a horrible job in saying how good it does with the least amount of resources that it does receive. And so we're asking, this is about, again, the future and not talking about the past, and you, the people who decide if this is in their best interest.
Thank you. Tom and Steve, share with us your view about the way this is written as a general obligation law, meaning that the money can be used however the future council chooses.
The reality is that as we have seen, we've got history already on what the council will do. They will do whatever they want to do. And the fact is that this is, again, another tax increase that Pedro here, believes is going to be a salvation in the city of Santa Paula. I have a question for Pedro. Will you commit right now, because you promoted this as a street repair bill, and I'm talking sidewalks and so on, will you commit to spend this money for the next several years till our streets are repaired for the streets? That's why it's on the ballot. That's what you guys promoted. Will you commit to that? That's my first question. Second question is why have you done a complete study of your budget, which I happen to have right here, $23 million for that part of it? There's two sections of it. Have you done a complete study to where, doing your job, you will go over this budget before you ask for more tax revenue from the Santa Paula and find any and all other places that you could generate revenue?
Okay, thank you. We'll let Pedro decide if he wants to answer later or not, but Steve, just as a point of order, I'm the guy asking the question.
I thought it. Mix it up a little.
I don't want to lose my job, Okay, Stephen and Thomas was my partner for you guys because it's asking what are the specific projects that you think should be performed if Measure R passes. You talked about the capital projects with the street, but are there other projects you want to weigh in on what projects you think would be appropriate?
Well, I think that what the city really needs is to be revitalized, and that is to bring in more businesses, to stop the businesses that we have from closing. And we've had a huge rash just in the last 2 months of businesses closing here. And it's really a sad thing because now we don't have, all those good places to shop. The bookstore, I think, is a travesty to lose that. And so now we're going to have another sales tax, which is going to have people looking to go shopping elsewhere because nobody wants to pay extra tax. And it does become quite a significant amount of money if you're buying large items. And so I don't see that this is going to save the city any money It's actually going to cost the city money because we're not going to have the stores, the retail services that we need.
Thank you. And Pedro, Brittany, what specific projects do you feel are ready to move forward now if Gerard passes?
Prior to 2018, there was no plan that the city had for pavement management. Since that time, there's been a plan. We have projections of what streets and an index that determine the conditions of our streets. The priority will be placed on fast tracking the repairs of those streets. Okay? That is a priority. Why? Because the people said that that is a priority, right? We came up with a solution to say, you know what, we need an investment. We need your help so that we can get there faster. However, when you fix a street, guess what? You have to look underneath and fix the infrastructure. You have to fix the sidewalk. You might have to put crosswalks. Have you noticed we don't have really good lighting in our neighborhoods? You think it's safe for people to walk in the neighborhood? So we need to prioritize our neighborhoods. What a great time to do that when we go into districts, right? To show the people that you're investing in the communities where they live. It's not just about the Main Street corridor. It cannot always be about the Main Street corridor. It has to be about where people live and where they live and where they raise their families. And so you have to make some investments now for the greater good, buy us some time, because what is happening in Santa Paula is we're having a population increase. We're one of 2 places in the entire Ventura County that is growing. That's going to help us uplift ourselves and lift our communities out of poverty, provide jobs and opportunity. But at the end of the day, we need sustainable businesses.
Okay. This was touched on just recently. The question is about the incentive for people who live in the city to now go and shop outside the city where the sales tax rate is either any lower or even more than that. So what will you do to try and offset the loss of business and the taxes that go to shopping out of the community? That's for your side.
People are only going outside the community to shop, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to Oxnard, they're going to Santa Clarita. What do you think their tax rate is? They're already paying more. Why? Because we don't have the businesses that our people need in this community. But you're not going to attract businesses without population. So when we grow as a community, guess what? We're going to be more attractive to these larger businesses that we want to see here in our community. That's already started to happen. What's going to happen on Hallett? What kind of businesses are going to come to that core right there? And the reality is those businesses are only coming, why? Because we have population growth. Because we have a harvest growing. We have affordable housing and more people coming to town. So they're already shopping somewhere else. What this is going to do, essentially, is make us a more attractive place to have business, conduct business, live and play. And that attraction is going to grow our small businesses. Our chamber relies a lot on the tourism thing, that we're attracting up these people to come here for our charm. And yes, we have that charm. But our charm could be even better. That's what, when they're coming here, they're always coming back. Why? Because they're not hitting a pothole, or they're going through the devastated community that we have that are today. So truly, when we uplift our neighborhoods and our streets and our infrastructure, we attract and grow our small businesses, and we grow our community, and we bring more revenue into the city that can solve our problems.
Thank you. Stephen Tom, same question to you. This person wonders if we'll actually see businesses lose activity because people are going out of the area to shop at lower sales tax rates.
Well, Pedro's absolutely right. I've seen most of the people in this room outside Costco and other places shopping, Camarillo in particular, because I will go to Camarillo and shop because it's 2% less. I get a 2% discount just by showing up in Camarillo. That's just the reality of it. The fact is we cannot build our way out of the problem we're in right now. This town is at capacity. We're at our limits. We have green belts on either side of us. We can do a little bit of infill, or there again, if the city charges you an arm and a leg to build something, even the infill hasn't been happening like it should. There should be a moratorium on fees for infill if you want to try and increase our population. We've got East Area 1. That would have been a huge boom for the city of Santa Paula had we not given 80% of the property tax revenue away to the county of Ventura. And that's what I wish the city council was really working on. They could go back somehow, maybe, and get the fire department back in the city, we could go to a $2 million a year fire department instead of a $5 million a year fire department. There's a big chunk here, right there, that could be brought back. It's probably not going to happen. I don't think anybody in the city council has the guts to go after the county. It would be very, very difficult, and it would cost money. Now, we were passing this to get our fire department back. I'd call for this, but that's not what's happening.
Thank you. We're going to start with your side, Steve. A little bit of research that I had here. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Measure T was passed in November of 2016, and it was a 20-year federal sales tax that was sunset a couple, I guess, about another 10 years.
He said 10 years.
10 years, okay. So this question feels that Measure T was misused. And they ask, what's stopping the same thing from happening with Measure R when there's really no hard oversight and there's no sunset with Measure R? So that's for Steve and Tom first.
Well, the fact is the same thing can and will happen unless the council, if it does in fact pass, steps up and says, we are going to stick to what the reason people want this is to fix the streets, the infrastructure and the streets. If they do that, great. I'm willing to bet right now we'll be sitting here in 4 years and they will spend this money on a whole bunch of other stuff as opposed to just sticking to the streets themselves. If they would commit to that, that would be a whole different thing. The problem is it's a general obligation sales tax. It goes into the general fund. They can spend it on anything they choose, like flyers that they throw at us. This kind of stuff here just drives me nuts. It's a complete waste of money. But they will have that. If they want to waste it on that, guess what? We can't stop them. Now he says, oh, the people will engage, but I visited council, we get 5 or 10 people showing up there. People are busy working. They don't have time to go down and lecture the councilman that they voted for to do the right thing. You should know what the right thing is. Unfortunately, the right thing doesn't always happen. In the Measure T situation, it definitely didn't happen, and that is your proof of what will happen in this measure.
And additionally, this council is, they may have great intentions, but the next one, we have no idea.
Good job. We'll have a chance for the next one.
Sorry.
As a reminder, if you have a question, please just hold up your hand and we'll bring you cards. So, Brittany, as I said, this person feels that Measure T was misused. What would you say are the plans in place to prevent that kind of misuse?
First of all, where are you getting your facts? I would ask, if someone thinks that Measure T was misused, then bring it to our attention, right? We go through an annual audit. Do you understand the time that is spent on a budget process? I'm just saying my personal experience as someone coming from the outside with a financial background, and it is a tedious process. It's the time that we spend going through every single line item trying to make a budget work. That's also a public process. We don't just wave magic wand and make it happen. Guess what? It's public. We actually have study sessions that inform that people actually can come to and participate. So the one thing that the city doesn't do is really tell the story of the success that we've had. And that's one of the things that is important moving forward, because again, they don't have a marketing department. They don't know how to communicate. When the gentleman here says about communication, well, guess what they're trying to communicate? He bought all these because he's a property owner, probably has multiple properties. But we have to communicate. There has to be a form, a way to let the residents know. And we do that through multiple channels. Through social media, we now have email marketing. We do that through the water bill. And so, where are the facts? You can't just put something out there and yell fire and not show us where the actual fire is. So if there's an actual fire, guess what? There's 5 committee members and a Measure T committee that does an audit every year, and they invite people to be part of that project.
Thank you. We're going to start with you and Wendy on this next one. This may not take a minute and a half, but the question is about how much has the city been spending to try and convince voters to approve Measure R? Do you happen to know what that number is?
I'm not here representing the city of Santa Paula. I'm here as a resident and taxpayer and an owner of 424 on Avenue. So I can't answer that question. However, you're welcome to come and get that information in terms of what's being spent, because guess what? If something called Google, you can go to City of Santa Paula, and you can look it up, and it's right there on the agenda. And there's an agenda that's public. Yeah, so the fact, if you want those facts, just go get them. I can't answer the question right now, because I'm not official capacity representing the city.
Okay, thank you. Steve and Tom, do you happen to know how much has been spent by the city, and what are your comments about it?
Well, there was a loose figure from they spent 10 grand sending these pretty glossy flyers out. Yeah, I do have multiple properties, and because of that, I'm more aware of waste in the city than many other people would be, due to the fact that all they have to do is have a database, pretty simple, put all the bills in one envelope, one flyer in one envelope, and mail it. You could save thousands every year if that simple thing was put into place. It just makes absolutely no sense that the city can't do something that simple. That's why I'm afraid that they probably can't manage, another measure without wasting the money on stuff that it shouldn't be wasted on. Again, I'm not really concerned about the current council. The council's changed. And you were a new guy, you'll be going out at some point, and the guys that are gone are the ones that, again, ruin, partially or for ruining the city of Santa Paula by giving our fire department away and having millions of dollars given to the county, which, by the way, has $100 million reserve in their county fire department that we are donating to way beyond what we should be paying.
It was just a bad contract. It wasn't that it was a bad idea or a horrible idea. It was just that they blew it on the contract. And that's why we were paying a huge amount.
And that's why they need the money.
Thank you. Well, we actually don't have any more questions. So we're going to end a little early. We're going to do closing statements. You have a minute and a half for each side. The side that is against it will have the opportunity to go first, share their view, and then we'll hear from the pro side. So whenever you're ready, Steve and Tom.
Well, we've been here before. I was here 8 years ago when the Measure T debate was going on, and I was sitting up here doing the exact same thing I'm doing this time. I put the exact same warnings out the last time that this was debated, and here we are again. Every time a bureaucracy doesn't do a good job, they want to come back to the people and take money out of their wallets to correct their mistakes. If this was specifically for streets, I might be able to get on board. The bottom line is, this is a general sales tax increase. It can go anywhere. 3 people on the city council, it doesn't take 5, it only takes 3. So 3 people will be able to dictate where this $4+ million is spent, and they can spend it any place they want. That's what the people have to understand. And it's only 1%. Again, you can buy a new car, that's $500. That's not chicken feed. Overall, the citizens of Santa Paula will spend $4.5 million a year in additional sales tax if, in fact, people continue to shop here. This is, again, going to push people away as far as shopping in Santa Paula. We will be number 1 when it comes to sales tax costs. If that's the mantra we want to carry, then so be it. We can be number 1.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the side supporting Measure R, John Brennan.
So this evening, we're hearing 2 passionate people that really care about the city. One that's only lived here only 2 years, and then one that's lived here a lifetime. So we both come together with other community members to understand why we're intentional about why we're doing this. The gentleman just stated to you that he's always been here, he's always been against it, right? So I asked you, what are you for? Because at the end of the day, each of you and those watching are Santa Paula voters and their families, because some people might not be able to vote, but they're represented by family members that can. What kind of future do you want? We've seen so much progress happen recently, Harvard Boulevard was made possible because of Measure D. Measure D. Someone said that their measure wasn't successful and there's been a misappropriation of funds but you know what? The results speak for themselves. And we've proven to you that we were able to make sound decisions that are in the best interest of the entire community, not just a small few. So I ask for you to vote for Measure R so that this council and this community can revitalize its streets, sidewalks, and services because we need it.
Thank you.